I've been I've been debugging all this while, and I was like, why not just stream the whole debugging process? Um, I'm actually trying to do a little bit of refactoring for that. So while I was writing the test, I encountered a bug, and that forced me to kind of like reevaluate. Um, so rather than trying to even fix the bug, it kind of made me, because the plan previously was I was gonna write a test and refactor that part, but that kind of like pushed me to basically just reevaluate that and refactor that and make it more robust and easier to understand, even though it might be a little bit more verbose. And that is what I'm trying to do. And this is specifically related to, there are two things now. The first one is dealing with renaming of a field um, in a way that it's very deterministic and you don't have interference, because um, renaming actually involves kind of like three processes or two: creation on the code base side, and deletion also. And it is not exactly creation or renaming, and we are trying to separate. So what I'm trying to do now is, previously I was kind of like combining creation with renaming, um, but then that introduces some kind of like logical complexity if you think about it, because deletion is also involved in the process of renaming. So it makes most sense that I either like separate the three kind of like diff types: creation, deletion, and renaming, or I collocate the three. And what I'm doing now actually is sort of like collocating but separating. So I'm gonna show you what I mean. Right now, I introduced a new inner member called rename that wasn't there previously. So I was sort of handling rename logic in creation, but that leads to some kind of like logical complexity, which might make it much more difficult for other people to maintain in the future. It's not crazy complex, but a little bit complex, because you want to guarantee the ordering of the way you undo the renaming. Because SurrealDB itself, the engine doesn't yet support like an alter statement, so we're kind of like using like a proxy handling the process. So if you've got a new field, let's say you rename a field from bread to cake, right? Um, you actually want to first define cake, then assign bread to cake, then delete cake. That's the entire process. Since Surreal doesn't yet support like an alter statement, that would have made it a lot easier. Um, that's one. So now basically we're introducing the rename member, and rather than having a separate, I can show you actually. I've got it down here. So you see, yep. Let's go. I believe here. So we've got no change and creation. So within this creation, we're sort of handling, well, creation and renaming. And you see, it's kind of like makes it a little bit like difficult to follow. And within remover, we have this condition that, oh, if you're like renaming, then don't do that. Only do that when you're not renaming. And we've got updates, right? But the problem with this is these two are now being separated into like separate parts, and collocation I think is better. So what I'm essentially doing now is to consolidate that, and I'll show you what I've got now. So I have these two kind of like process. So I'm basically moving everything that just takes all these metadata and determines what kind of change or what kind of diff is that, like delta. Um, so here, when you have nothing on either side, that shouldn't be possible, because we are iterating over a union of the migration directory state and also the code base state, right? So this shouldn't be possible. I should probably panic there explicitly. um when you have both sides, it means you're either updating or there is no change, right? If we compare the two and there is like a difference between the two, then that's an update, right? If there is none, there's no change. then rather than having a separate left or right, we're actually now consolidating everything, that every other case would now be either rename, delete, or creation, right? And so rather than starting with left or right states, we're now actually starting with whether or not this is a renaming situation. And the way we're doing that is basically I have this function that you can call that basically you check the code base and you pass in all these parameters. But more importantly is this field name. So we are iterating over the fields in the migration directory state and the code base state. So when we're on a particular field, we're searching if, let's say this is a new name, basically in the code base now. If you search and you find that it has old name attributes, that's one. But we can also search, let's say this field is an old name, we can search, right? Then now we've sort of like inverted the search, because now we're more focused on renaming, because renaming is more like encompassing, and we want to handle that okay, if this is renaming, we handle it, then every other situation should either be creation or deletion. So basically what we're doing is we're checking the migration state, which is the left, and we're checking the code base state. If both are present, that shouldn't be possible. You can imagine you're iterating over one at a time. It should either be cake or it should be bread. It can't be both. So when you have both, you just say you're probably trying to rename the old field to the new field, and I'm panicking. We can decide to handle it a different way, just log. But I think panicking is totally fine, because I would want to know in that kind of situation that maybe the case name is different, or I forgot to actually rename that field. Then if you have that tilted to the right, it means you have the new field on the code, right? And what we're doing is we're trying to get the corresponding the old field definition from the migration state. So we pass in so from the metadata we get, this gives us the metadata from the current code base, and we can get the old name from that through the attributes, and we pass the old name to the migration directory state. We get the definition from there, and we do the same thing, the reverse. This time we're actually searching this is probably not necessary, to be honest, but I'll keep this in the meantime. So this is the new field name now. Better to rename it maybe. And we're searching the code base. If it exists, we get the definition. If it doesn't exist, we panic, because the definition should exist, right? Then we pass all those attributes that we might need with it for renaming. Renaming kind of like processes, which would involve defining the new field, like define new field, and then assign old to new, then delete old. Then this would be basically the up state, and then we'll do the reverse. The reverse would be so let's say down would be you define old field, you assign new to old, and then you delete new. That is what we're going by. Let me see if there's someone who has no life like me for the new year. Let's see. So that's what we're gonna be going off of. Let's see. I'm just trying to check the chat in case someone is communicating with me. I wouldn't want to miss it. But if you're joining, I appreciate you for joining. That means a lot. Thanks for chilling with me. We should be probably chilling on a new year. But I mean, it's just another day. It doesn't have to be New Year for me to celebrate, right? Or for us to celebrate. We can celebrate tomorrow, next tomorrow. After all, it's just a revolution around the sun. So, what do we got now? We have basically all the metadata for handling the rename or renaming, right? And then we say, okay, otherwise, if you've got something on the left, we are not making any change, because this has been handled, right? So we really don't need to check for that kind of like scenario, like in a situation whereby now is the migration state that has been handled up here. So we really don't need to do anything for this anymore. Then if both sides are none, it means that we are not doing a renaming. Like it means when we search by the new field name, it doesn't have old name attribute, and when we search by the old field name, it doesn't have old name attribute either. Like so, let's say this old the migration state we search, the old field name is now like bread, right? Then we search the code base and we see that doesn't have the field with the old name attribute doesn't exist, and we do the same thing for cake and that doesn't exist either. Then we can basically assume that this is not a rename process. Then we match over basically the left and right definition, which come from top level here. So basically we get it from the current field definition, and then of course if we've got something on the right but not on the left, then that's a creation, and the reverse is a removal. You get me? Then other scenario shouldn't exist here. So that's what we've got now. Looks a little bit tricky, but I think it's necessary to do this. So let's see. This was the old implementation. No, this is the second, and this is the third, the latest. So I wanna take you back to the days when we first met. If I could have started over again, how long was my regret? Should I know then what I know now? Crying every second that you're not around. Should I be there when you needed me, babe? I'm by myself in bed now. Will I ever have a chance to? Didn't realize that you were my boo. Should I show you what you mean to me? Girl, you're not alone. Don't know what to say, 'cause you took my breath away. And I love you, and I need you. Wanna take you back to the day when... Happy New Year, Liqua. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. How's it going? Is it Liqua? How are you? Thanks for joining the stream. What's good? If I could have started all over again, I was my regret. Yep. Should've known then, would've known now. Crying every second that you're not around. Look what. You guys. Oh, you guys have the Lunar New Year or something you told me about. How's the celebration going down there? So can probably comment this part out. Oh, that's cool. Maybe I should move to Vietnam, you know? Thanks. Oh, I should find myself a Vietnamese wife. What do you think? Well, on a more serious note, I would actually like to visit Vietnam. maybe even next year. I like to visit. I know Hanoi is the biggest city. That's basically the capital. But it'd be nice to visit like smaller town also. Or what do you think? Oh, this is not Lunar New Year. It has from profile. Maybe I should come celebrate Lunar New Year with you guys. What do you think? So you guys don't celebrate like um the general New Year that we celebrate on this side at all? If you want beach, go the middle of area. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. What if I want both? Maybe I'll go to both places. That's actually pretty cool. You know, some countries don't have beaches at all. That'd be cool. That would be so cool. Yeah, this has been an interesting new year for me. But I've decided mostly to just chill this new year. I actually didn't go out at all for the new year. I was meant to go out. A friend wanted us to go out yesterday. I just wanted to chill. Like it's, it's just a new year. I was actually meant to travel at first, but I have a lot of trips coming up, and I just thought like I need to rest a little bit. And thanks. The other day we did the nerd fun setup, right? We did it together. Like that was you. I appreciate that. So we do delta type from chain meta, and we've got all the changes. So oh yeah, thanks. You see now we've got everything working. Although my language server LSP is messing up a little bit. Like if I do A, which is code action, I'm not getting code action anymore. This stopped last week, and I've really not just had any time to try to debug it. So I've just sort of like left that. Yeah, delta type. If we do create, we go right. Now, right, this should be much simpler. We can focus on the creation logic here. I go to daily standing meeting now. See you later. Oh, see you. Oh, you're working today. Oh, that's interesting. See you. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. You appreciated. So now we can basically just focus on the logic, and so we're gonna add for up. We're basically gonna add like the query for definition. So for up, we're gonna be defining the new field, right? And for down, we're basically just gonna be add down. We're gonna be doing the removal. Yep. So we get definition of the right, and do we need to clone that? It's not a reference. We can remove that. Then now this makes it a lot simpler, right? Then let's go to the next. So let's do deletion. Let's call it remove. Okay, that's remove, right? Oh, update to what was update like? Yeah, basically just take left and right for that. Yep, that's pretty much it. Then we do remove. Yep. For removal, this should be add down. This should be add down. Add down. That should be add down. For removal, when we're going up, it's gonna be add up. Add up is gonna be, we're gonna be defining. No, for add up is gonna be left as remove statements, right? Like we did have here. Yep, and right would be just taking the definition of that. Yeah, define left, and left as removal. Then update is just left, right. Then creation was a little bit complex. Dun, dun, dun. So now we can focus on renaming. This is now a separate construct, which is cool, right? So for that, we have a little bit more to work with, and this makes our life a lot easier. And now we can focus on the logic here and do for up, like I mentioned here. I'm gonna list the 3 processes. Let's go up there and take maybe we can leave that there in the meantime. So basically we put this here. So for up, we're gonna do add up. First we want to define the new field, right? And the new field is basically gonna be the rights. So we can say query define right clone, thank you. And we don't need to clone that actually. Then I have this assignment. Where is it? You can basically just use this. Hello, Shaif Organteng. How are you? Happy New Year. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining the stream. So these basically we've got copy. It should be old to new. Like we have it here. Copy old to new. Basically this. Well, we can keep this for later. So we can take all that. And basically we're gonna pass the table and the new name. Yeah, we've got that. We've got the old name. So we're assigning the old to the new, and then yep, that's it. And we're adding that to this. And then lastly we delete the old one, so we do add up, which would be query. Yep, just like we did here. Using different statement. We're using the different statement for new. Ouch. That's why we're passing the old field name here. Yep. So field name here to override the if you want generating the remove statement. Okay. Since we want the remove statement for the left, you know what? I'm not sure if this is even necessary anymore because we have the old left definition here. I wonder why I didn't do that in the last way. We're using the but generate statements. So in this case, let's say bread is the old name. But we're using cake as the remove statement, but we're telling it to remove the old name. That doesn't make sense. Didn't we have access to the left here? If we had access to it, then could we? Yeah, we should have access to it. So I wonder why we didn't do that. Hey, Mr. Bulldogs, Happy New Year. I appreciate that. When I saw CB at first, it felt like Chris Brown. Like, oh, Chris Brown, Breezy is in the building. Thanks, I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you. I wish you the same. Are you enjoying your New Year? How was the New Year celebration for you? Thanks for joining in again. I appreciate you for always joining in. How's life? How are the kids? what have you been up to? I think I'm actually gonna be spending quite a lot of time in US this year. Um, I've got a lot of people inviting me over. So I was meant to be in Texas, like I mentioned also a few months ago, and one of my friends called me today. It's like I have to come. I have to come soon. So I guess I will have to. So yeah, copy new to old. Then we remove the new. Yeah. So this basically just simplifies this a lot, and it allows us to focus on what we're trying to achieve here. Like, yeah, we're trying to do a rename rather than cluttering it with a transformation, right? This now encapsulates the logic of what it means to take all this metadata and what this combination of this metadata mean in terms of the delta, the change. Low key, the end my first DND session. Cool. Went over. Oh, that's cool. Pretty well. Was very nervous leading up to it, but once we got into the rhythm, it was smooth sailing. That's cool. When I saw DND, it looks like drag and drop or do not disturb. Cool. I'm glad that went well. So I'll be on the West Coast. I'll be in Oregon, Portland, and um then but the other side is Texas, Philly, and New York. Those are the parts, and of course Toronto. So I'm between CA and EU actually. I'm in CA, um, your neighbor. Hey, Andrew Thompson, Happy New Year to you. I wish you the same. Thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining. It means a lot to me. So I'm your neighbor, Mr. Bulldogs. We're right up north. So basically, this part is able to focus on what like change change definition, and this part is now able to focus on the query definition, if that makes sense. So I like this a lot. I like the fact that now we've separated all the like logic, what it means to be a change, what it means to be a rename, update and stuff. Yeah, so close to you, right? I think you're in Cali, if I remember correctly. I mean, Cali isn't out of. I think I'll also be in Cali this year, if not next month, because I have quite a lot of trips coming up, and I just came back from some trips, so I've been traveling quite a bit. I think it would be nice to do a road trip on the West Coast and the East Coast too. So basically now we've defined this, and I'm quite happy with this. Now, like if you compare this old way to the new way, I think the new way is just so much better, because now the code is more readable. That okay, oh, when it's creation, oh, we're doing this. Okay. It's a lot easier to follow. And if you're interested in how we're like deriving the diff or delta, you can then go here and focus on the logic. Okay, yeah, this is how we detect no change. This is how we detect update. So this is focused on change detection. I would call this change detection. I can call this change detection method. Basically this is field I could barely spell anymore. Me now, I'm in the Midwest. Unfortunately, I wish I was in Cali. Sunshine up, yeah, you're having a blast. I would like to live in where you are. Where exactly are you? What state? I want me some big trees too. We might actually be quite close, cause yeah, we might be quite close from my location. Yeah, I'm right in the middle. Uh, so you can see. Then where we've got this um, old name. Yeah, the Dell Sunshine. We get. This is the DB migration code. Yeah, it is. This is part of it. Yeah, the deltas are DB deltas. So if you can think of the database as several resources, right? One of them is, so we've got like scopes. We've got a bunch of them. Actually, I can show you. So these are the resources. Let me see if I can find more like top level stuff. Okay, yeah, so we've got like all these are various resources. We've got users, we've got tokens, we've got tables, we've got scopes, we've got parameters, we've got functions and analyzers. So you can sort of think of these as like top level resources. And out of everything, tables do have sub resources, right? So for tables, when we go to like table definition, I'm actually using macro for that. But when we go to table itself, table has events, it has fields, and it has indexes, and that kind of like introduces a little bit more like complexity into that, especially when you're handling fields, because when you're handling field, you have to detect the different kind of changes. You have to know when there is no change, when there's creation, when there is update, when there is removal. So prior to this, I didn't have the concept of renaming separately. So I was kind of like including renaming within the implementation was within creation, but also deletion is an integral part of like renaming, because you have to delete the old feed, right? Because SurrealDB, the database engine that I'm supporting currently, doesn't yet support an alter statement, and I don't know if it will support it. So like when you want to really think about what an alter statement is, essentially what it means is you are taking the old field, defining the new field, then you're taking the data from that to the new field, basically. So you define the new field, then you point the data. You just, you can copy the entire data, or you shift the pointer to the new field, then you delete the old field, right? That's the entire process. Then when you're going down, the reverse would just be like doing the opposite of that, and that's what I'm trying to do. So before now, I add this logic. I can uncomment that. So we add this div type, and as you can see, within this creation, we add all this server logic. Granted, this is doing a little bit more because there is a part where we're also doing like change auto detection. If you're changing just a field, then we can assume that that might be rename or deletion. But all the logic for this, everything is within this, and it makes it like a bit more like tricky to follow. So what I'm doing now is basically I'm separating the change detection logic all fully. First, I am introducing the renaming as separate field. Then this change detection, this part handles the entire change detection, and this is only focused now on just the query definition for like up and down. Yeah. So I think this is a lot easier to follow, easy, and like if you want to do something to this now in the future, you really don't have to, like, this is easier to focus on and see, oh, is there something wrong here? Is everything right here? Right. Then if you're interested in the change detection, you can always come here. All you need to know is, okay, I just need to pass in all these variables to this. Then I can convert that to the delta type and handle it. And yeah, we actually don't need this anymore, and we don't need this anymore. And I believe we could probably remove this also. Yeah, I could copy this, but I'll comment this out in the meantime. But we could remove that also. So if we take this out, let me take that up to line 10, remove that to 22. So now you see it's just so much better in my opinion. It's more focused. So that's why I'm doing it that way, trying to make it more robust. So the plan previously was to complete the test. I had the intention of doing this, but I wanted to finish the test and basically do this refactoring. But while I was writing the test for testing like reversing migration, basically down migration, I encountered a bug, and that basically forced me to just do this refactoring now, so it's easier to like reason the logic here. So that's what I'm doing. So one thing we can also consider is we can make this a try from, but that's a very easy thing to do. We just need to, because we're panicking here, and we have to decide, do we want to panic or do we want to return an error? But I guess that's something we can deal with later. First, I just want to get this to work, and then we can deal with panicking or not later. So basically, there might still be something to take from here. So single field renaming, blah 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 blah. Yep, there might be that single field. Where's that coming from? But yeah, I can also still include that, but now that will go into the change detection, which is cool in my opinion. And this logic will remain the same. We don't have to change anything, even if it's just that. We just need to I believe that's a prompt. Where's the prompt? Yeah, field name, method name, blah blah blah. There should be a place where I'm using the prompt. Search prompt. Okay, yeah, that yep. Okay, so basically I can just pass that prompt into this part, into the change detection, and do what I need to do there. Yeah, that is totally true. Yeah, I'm gonna remove all these parts. like this are set for removal. So all I just need from here is this prompt, and yeah, I'm glad this forced me to like rethink the logic. So I'll remove all this now. Bam, it's gone. So that's the, then yeah, also so this was sort of like another approach, but this is similar to the first. So I'm just gonna take this out, then this change meta, this old stuff goes away. It's always nice to remove code. So I will explain what I mean to you now. Maybe I could commit this so I don't lose it first. Then there's something I want to explain. New renaming, implement, refactor, and consolidate and simplify, and make few change, refactor, consolidate, what did I consolidate? No, that's not the important part. Basically improve field change detection and renaming. Basically make field change detection and change detection, that's one, and migration change more robust. Yeah, it's always nice to remove code. Every code is a liability. Maybe less so in Rust. So I wanted to explain the concept to you. I think I documented it in the book already, but basically, so this is a concept that I think I introduced also. I've not seen it done in any framework or library. So basically, we don't even need a second screen. Let's take a look at this planet, right? And we take a look at this second one. You're following. So this is just like a hypothetical situation or scenario. Ideally, or normally rather, you wouldn't create a separate struct for this. You would just make the change within your code base. But let's assume these two are like separate like versions, right? So in the first version, we've got ID, first name, population, created at, updated at, and labels. The second, we've got pretty much everything. However, we are renaming new name, first name to new name. So the way to do the convention, or not even a convention, the approach I came up with for handling that is you would have to specify an old name attribute, right? So when you change this, let's say this was previously first name. Let's say this is just the code base you've got, right? This is, now you want to make a change. You want to change this to cool name. So you would have to do basically blah blah blah. You have to specify the old name as that was first name, but you have to put it in actually the way it is written within the database, right? But the nice thing, the beautiful thing is, let's assume you mistype something or you use the wrong casing, right? If you mistype this, it's not gonna go silently. It's actually gonna throw an error when you run the migration that the old name you're specifying has either been renamed already, the field has either been renamed already, or you might have mistyped the name, or at least doesn't exist in the database as of now, because we are able to deterministically tell that because we're keeping track of the current migrations, because we have access to that from the migration directory, right? So we're able to do that when you run the migration. So that is cool in my opinion. So the other side of the token is, let's take that off, and now you're renaming. But imagine a scenario whereby you are not using the attributes, and you just change this to like cool name. That is from my. So this is from like the or Surreal-orm. It's not from Saturday. And actually, I wanted to call that rename at first, but I was thinking people might be confusing that with Saturday attribute, and that was why I decided to choose old name, which is maybe a bit more descriptive also. So imagine a scenario whereby you're changing this to from first name to cool name, right? You're doing that. In this kind of scenario, what would you want to happen? This is all the change you've made. Every field remains the same. Ideally, what you've essentially done is you've done two things at the same time. You've deleted first name, right? And at the same time, you've added cool name. So these are like two different stuff, right? However, my guess is if someone is renaming a singular field, just a single field, maybe you actually wanted to rename that field. So in this kind of scenario, I'm actually giving the grace. I'll prompt you to ask you, are you sure you're trying to delete the old field to add a new field? Because in this kind of situation, when you delete this field and add this new field, you're deleting and defining this new one. It's not going to transfer the old data. So you're essentially going to lose the data in the old field, right? You're going to lose the data. And probably that's not what you want. But if you say, okay, when you get prompted, you're going to see your migration when you run it, so you should know. But I think it's nice to get prompted that, do you want to rename or do you want to delete? So if you want to rename, then it would first define cool field, cool name, then assign the data, assign first name to cool name, then before like deleting first name. So at least you get the option. So that is what I'm trying to implement. I had implemented that previously, but that is what I'm implementing in addition to that. So even if you don't explicitly specify this, if you're just changing a single field, we are going to prompt you that, are you trying to rename it or do that? So that is one thing we can add to this change detection, and that will come in the form of, let's come here. So this is the way we're detecting change right now, this way. But let's say we have a prompt, and that happens when there is this logic here. So I'm calling that potentially renaming. So when we have the diff to the left, so if you I wish I have my iPod here, but there's no way. I'm not sure. I need to figure this out. I would like to draw something out, but let's do a set demonstration. On what can I draw? Escali draw. I should start using Escali draw. Let me see. If I can use that, because I would like to explain, or maybe I can just write it out. Maybe. Let's try to use escalator. So space. Ah. This was probably when I was ideating this ORM. Oh, I was explaining this to my. Yeah, so let's see. Let's try to do some set theorem. How do I use this escalator nowadays? So this is the migration state, right? And this is this is your code base now. And this is migration directory state. Let's call it your DB now, because that is sort of like the representation of your database state. This is your code base. So let's say in the planet, right? You've got you're renaming a field, right? A single field, like I showed you now. We could consider that as a deletion, right? And if we consider that as a deletion, then it means that let's bring this together now, right? So if we're considering a deletion, right, you're renaming a single field, it means this part as, so let's say this is the code base, you've got like 5 fields, right? Now out of 5 there will be 4 would intersect here. So let's say the whole thing is 5 fields. This is also 5, right? But now this would have 1, this would have 1. So in the case of rename, let's say we're renaming from old name, right? So this would now have old name. Oh, this is slowing me down, like old name. Oh my god, I'm struggling. So this would have old name. Ooh, and this has new name, right? New name. Yeah. Cool. So this is how we can detect that scenario. So this can be deletion. Ooh, damn. I'm not even that terrible. Or it can also be renaming. Even if the user doesn't specify the attribute, the intention could be renaming. And if we want to simplify things, we can just like say this is deletion, then we explain in the documentation, if you want to do renaming, explicitly use the attribute. But if we want to improve the user experience, then when we detect this kind of scenario, right, where we have I believe this would be a symmetrical difference, right, being 1, actually, yeah, so we have that kind of scenario. We can then prompt the user, and that is what I'm trying to do here. I actually did that previously, but we'll also re-implement it here. So the way we're doing that is I think there's symmetrical difference also here, but if you check, there's a I don't like the one with b3 set. Let's use hash set instead. Let's call that hash set new I want to show you the definition here. Symmetrical difference. This is more better descriptive. So let's go here. So in this kind of scenario, we've got set A 1 to 3, set B. So basically they have these 2 and 3 in common. The difference would be 1 and 4, right? The symmetric difference would be 1 and 4. And in our own case, we want the symmetric difference to be it would be 2, I think. But if I remember correctly, there was a reason I didn't go with the approach of using a symmetric difference. There was an edge case, and I should have documented that. Why am I not using symmetric difference? Oh yeah, I get it. It's possible that, like, imagine a scenario whereby B has 2, let's say 4 and 5, and this is just 2 and 3, right? In that case, the symmetric difference will still be 2. So we couldn't do that. And a way to go about it would be then first we find the difference to the left. When we find the difference to the right, then we sort of find the union. And when we find the union, we find the diff to the left and the diff to the right, and we make sure that they are both 1, right? So if you diff to the left, you make sure that there's only one that is in the database but not in the code base, and you also do the same thing for the code base, that this is in the code base and not in the database. So this, we can call it, is potentially single renaming, or we can say might be delete. I'm really bad with naming things. Might be delete or renaming. When we detect a single field name change in a struct, we want to give the user the option to select to choose to rename the field or delete, even if the old name attribute approach of renaming field is not explicitly used. Yeah. Sometimes I just use some very silly ass long names, but I like to talk to myself. So when I come back, I can understand, not to get too like fancy with the naming and stuff. So yeah. So basically, one interesting thing actually that just occurred to me is diff left, diff right, union. Where do we have the union? So we're essentially doing all this to detect if the user is renaming, and whatever we get back, so all right. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to go to the change detection implementation. We'll clean this up still, but first we actually want to take so I'm thinking if we should do the prompt here right away, or okay, anyway, let's do it here. So basically it's potentially blah 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 and diff left and this would give us the field. Let's diff left. It uses this. Uses okay names. So this is the old name potentially because we are doing the left and yep, that will give us new name. Diff right will give us the new name. So one thing else we could also do in the change detection is I'm thinking if we should just pass this right in as part of the change detection, that if there's like a potential old name, we use that, or if we should take in all the logic. And I think I might be gravitating towards taking all this into diff left, diff right. Let's go change detection. So where would that fall in here? Basically, when you have left and right, in that kind of scenario, you will have a field on the right, but so I mean, if we want to simplify that, we can just all right, Mr. Boldups. So where would that make sense? If you have a renaming that is auto detected, and we do left and right, basically that will fall within right. So basically, yeah. And since you're not using any of this, it's probably not gonna be it's not gonna be these that's creating in that kind of situation. You are when you're going to the right, you want to check if the user might be renaming. The user might be renaming that, then you make it fall within renaming. Otherwise, we're going to the right. That will create. We're going to the left. It's gonna delete, right? So we need to make that somehow also fall within this. So what would be the ideal way to do that? What would be our ideal way of making it fall within this? Do we want to pass it as a third argument? That could complicate things a little bit, or do we want to, so let's say we have put delete or renaming auto detected, and this gives you option of I mean, from here we can get new name, and we can get old name. So let's call this string, something like that. If it's auto detected, then this would actually depend on the user selection. So we're also gonna have like a prompt from user which would be I believe I have it here, and I might want to move that actually. So it's gonna be this single field change, something like this. So we're gonna use the prompt to determine the single field change type and return that. Depending on what the user selects, we're gonna take action. Um, okay, it kind of makes sense to me. So delete, rename. I mean, one thing we could actually do is when we come here and we have the change type. Let's do change type, and we can do single change type. Yep, let's say change type from user. Change type from user prompt or whatever. From user prompt, single change type from user prompt, and that could be delete or it could be rename. Okay. So let's go check renaming. We've got the table, old name. We're basically just using that for error, but it's also nice to have that because welcome back, Mr. Bulldogs. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I know you like that. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back. So when we notice that actually, one thing we could do is we can have the single field change type here, and so yeah, basically we could probably do something like single field change type do we want to make it mutually exclusive from using the old field name attribute? I guess that's the question. Do we want to make it like a separate thing entirely, or do we want to put it as part of it? That's the big question. So we have to ask ourselves that, and I think tell you what, I think that can actually come none. That can actually come here, which is the beauty of this. So when you have none, this is a scenario whereby no renaming, no explicit renaming, rename attribute use, the IE old name equals blah 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 old field name. I mean, this is the scenario whereby we're not using the attributes anywhere. If you're not using the attribute, then we want to auto detect that. So basically, we but the tricky thing here is maybe not that tricky anyway. So let's take this as this. So basically, when the that stuff is not used, we could basically have like a logic that says if, let's say, auto detection, auto detect detection. Let's just, this is Boolean, right? So we can say if auto detected in that scenario, we are going to get result from user prompt. So that's gonna be yeah, maybe we can even copy that. So say we're gonna get this, and if we or if there is auto detection, then we're gonna see what we get back from the user. And the nice thing is we can also pass this as an argument to the CLI that you can decide whatever strategy. So it's best of both worlds. Like if there is an auto detection, then we can do, we can match that if single blah blah blah, if it's rename, so something like that basically. Rename is gonna be that, and we're also gonna have deletes. Good. So no, we're gonna have this metadata, everything we basically need here. Meta. Now we can pass this. And basically so we're gonna pass what I believe, okay, meta. This would be, what do we have here? One second. never noticed the way I do. I've never noticed the way I when I'm around you. I feel like I'm in real life. It's so hard to live without you. You drive me crazy, baby girl, anytime when I hold you. So I'll be happy when you say. So, yeah, let's go to meta, field chain meta. Yeah, we've got the table, old name and new name, and we can basically just old name, new name, old name. Oh, it's private. I see. Let's make it public. Yes, make it public. So probably don't need that cloning. This should be new name. And do we even have access to our meta here? Yep. And we can get the old left basically. We can just use the same approach there and do basically let's just expect first. Yep. Then put that down. We can do the same thing for right. Let's just copy from here. Respect. Go to get right code if you def. Okay, so we pretty much have that here. Good. Then the alternative would be delete, and in the case of deletion, so we're basically gonna be going to I mean, well, if you're renaming, then that definition, the old one should definitely be in the database states. If it's a single field rename, the new one would be on the right. But if it's a deletion, then essentially we're if we're getting the union of the left and right div, are we, or so we're gonna go through old name, then we're gonna go through new name still, because old name would be on the left, and now we're gonna have like this on the right. we're going through old name because no, he's doing about because I'm actually reconsidering this. I'm looking at the possibility of consolidating that into this. I think this is actually possible. Um, because how can we transform this rename logic into this? If we are able to do that, that would mean that we could basically reuse the logic elsewhere. So, because at the end of the day, what we're basically doing here is explicit name, old name detection. So why couldn't we transform this implicit name detection into explicit name detection? And what I mean is, well, if the user prompts that they want to rename, so we have the logic auto detected, auto detection is true, for example. If we have to detect that and user, so we can have like no, that's not what I want. So we can do something like new, basically almost what we have here, found field by new name. We can say let's call this one, we can say if auto detection, so we've detected a single name field, and the single field rename is like basically that. Or alternatively, let's use a match statement here. So we can do like match auto detection, and also single field rename from prompt. And if there's an auto detection and this is a rename, in which we're gonna get the meta and do that. In this case, no, don't do anything, just chill. We want to return, let's check the this field meta. So we want to have something like say field meta basically, and what that would do, let's try to import that. Do we have access to it? Okay, this is under query builder, so we should have access. I hope that is exported though. So basically, let me check if that is exported. Field metadata, and that is coming from model. Okay, and is model, let's see, traits. Yeah, we're pretty much exporting everything from traits. So I believe that should be exported. Let's field metadata. Okay, great. So basically, rather than trying to do a separate logic, let's just focus on transforming this implicit potential conversion renaming to this. So we can have something like fill in the field. We've got name. The name would be meta dot name, new name. Then old name would be meta dot old name, and that's optional. So we can do this. Then definitions. How do we get the definition? Well, we can get the definition by so in this case we want the definition for the new field. Basically we can get that by using this same logic here. We could probably move this up and do something like let's bring this down here. So we could do that and call this new field def. By going, this would be right because we're checking the code base, and we just need to pass in, I guess, meta dot new name. Yep, just remove that and let's just unwrap for now. So we're still missing an app, and now we can just pass the new field def. Good. So what's the other scenario? When user selects true. Okay, when we detect auto detect single field change and user select renaming, we're gonna try to do this. So let's say we're trying to rename from bread to cake. So the first time we are iterating over bread, let's say bread, and the next time we're iterating over cake. So let's say bread would be in the code base migration or DB state. Let's call it live DB state, because this should be the reflection of this, and cake should be in the code base state. Yep. So let's say the first time we go over this auto detection, for that particular field. Let me see how I'm auto detecting here again. Take that off. Off. I don't need this. Okay, yeah. Is it here? Yep. So auto detection is basically diff left. So we're actually not iterating. We don't need the name to auto detect. We just need the diff left and the diff right for the auto detection. So it's not dependent on the current field name. That is even better. So we go here, auto detection. We can easily detect that without depending on the name. But the single field chain type, that would also come from the user. So oh yeah, this is even great, because actually might be delete or renaming. We can get both the old field name and the new field name and this is not dependent on the iteration. So I wonder if it makes sense to even include that within. Okay, okay. Um, yeah, yep, yep. So one cool thing is when we do the auto detection here, of course, for the diff left, that's the DB state, and for the diff right, that would be the code state. It's gonna fall within this. So when we go back to the field chain detection algorithm, it's gonna fall within this part, right? And um, rename for a specific field. So we go with this or I'll just implement it instead of overthinking. Let's play with some code. Why don't I remove everything from here? So what if we copy? I'm just thinking out loud now. Are we even using this anymore? No. Okay, that's great. So one nice thing is we could do diff right first, because we're expecting one on both sides. If it's this, this would be old name. This would be new name, and yep. Otherwise we return none. Yep. So get it and this, and actually in this case we can unwrap because if we don't have this, then this should be a logical error, because they should both exist. Because when we're diffing left and we're diffing right and we're saying they can the two of them should be at least one, then means they should be both present, right? So the alternative would be I guess we could do that of like it should be like a tuple, right? And this is just like none. Or I think well, isn't this the right way to represent tuple in Rust? Let's say tup equals string, right? This, isn't it? And you can have, okay, you know what, oh, the problem is I'm trying to pattern match that. Yes, so I could just say results or rename meta, auto detected rename meta. Okay, so this gives us the first and new name, and we can also do like swap remove, and maybe that's not a good idea, but let's just swap remove 0. Removes an element from the vector and returns it there. Is replaced with the last element of blah, blah, blah. We can just do remove actually. So this way we're gonna get back string. Why we do swap remove? What do we get? Yeah. Yep. It doesn't really matter anyway. It doesn't matter. You can use either. Oh, thanks. That's right. Thank you. So now I think we're getting somewhere, right? We're auto detecting and it gives us the rename meta. So in the change detection, when we're going over a name, we can actually check if if it's one of the two names. Then if it's one of the two names, that should go to a renaming, but also that is dependent on the option that the user selects. So if we take this, I'm thinking of taking this straight away to change detection. I think that would be better. So yeah, we're using the diff left. Let's see, we can just copy this whole thing. Are we using it? Yeah, I don't think so. So we're safe, right? Okay, so we take that and we stick it in here. Do we have everything we need here? Diff left. We're using the union here, so let's duplicate a little bit. Or should we pass in diff left? Okay, let's make it work first. Then left, right, get names and set. You know what? Diff left and right. Probably makes sense to take diff left and right. So we can take diff left. What type is that? Diff left is difference. Diff left. You know, I think we could take this back here. This is a vector of string array. We can copy all that and stick it in here instead. So now we need diff left and diff right, and that is vector of actually this and diff right. The reason I'm using that rather than set is if I remember correctly, so I wanted to use length because when you use count it actually consumes the iterator, and I don't want it to do that. So let's just use this for now. So this would be diff left and diff right. Good. So with that, we check if it might be renaming, and if it's that, we check rename meta, which would give us the left or right name. Okay, but I wonder, shouldn't this okay, Okay, this should probably be something like this, right? Great. So if we're able to get this rename meta auto detected, let's call it auto detected rename meta is detected. If we're able to get that, um, uh, mm, 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 mm. If that is some, we can pretty much remove these parts. Yep. So let's say we're iterating over everything, and we have something. This would occur when we have something on the right but not on the left. Okay, that makes sense to me. So let's say in this kind of scenario whereby we have we're renaming bread to cake, right? So when we're going over bread, this is gonna detect that, and I'm actually thinking we could probably yeah. So what are we using here? Okay, found field by old name. That will depend on what the user selects. So how do we find field by new name? That would be, you go over all the fields and you see if it has the old name attributes, then the user is renaming. But in this kind of scenario, you just need to see if let's say auto detected rename meta. Let's unwrap that. If the new name, right, yeah, basically you just need to see if this old thing exists, right? And at the same time, let me do like a pseudocode. If this exists, and at the same time the strategy chosen by the user is this rename, those two things. Oh, that's cool, congratulations. Just program a simple HTTP server with Rust. Next step. Cool. That is so cool. Congrats. Steady making the progress. So how's your Rust experience going? Do you like it? Yep, 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 yep. This girl is on fire. Then that would be rename. However, if that exists, but the user chooses okay, that's gonna be a singular change. But if the user chooses to delete, then I think you should catch it. I hit a roadblock on the DNS server project I was working on. Oh yeah, it's still a mindfuck sometimes, but a lot of coding concepts are pretty foreign to me. Tonight was the first time I messed with channels and async. Yeah, that's cool. Channel is pretty like interesting, but once you get the concept, um, I think channel is quite easy to grok, but of course it's introduces a lot more complexity into your code base when you're doing a lot of like asynchronous stuff. But one thing that does help is to sort of break the processes into parts. So like rather first understanding the concept of basically one to one, many to one to many, all the combinations basically, many to many. So multiple producer, multiple consumer, multiple producer, single consumer, producer, multiple consumers, single producer, single consumers, one shot channel, and blah blah blah, MPSC and blah 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 blah. Once you understand that concept, uh, the, then you can see what kind of scenarios they are useful for. Um, uh, So for example, you can even have like a single channel just sending like a single producer, just basically sending different tasks to different consumers, and those consumers process the task, right? That's one thing. But one thing that helps is you breaking your code into different like parts. So let's say you want to process a file, rather than thinking about your file as like this series of procedures, you can then break those separate procedures into like sub functions, and they just take like maybe this part is this sub function is now taking is like a receiver, then this sub function is sending and also receiving, then you then bring them together at the top level. It's just fun. Like once you play with it, it's fun. But yeah, breaking them into those separate steps can help. And like if you just think of them in terms of like a stream, uh, is that even a yeah, like a stream? You if you put a die at the top level of the stream, the die goes from here and goes to the next part, and the next part can do whatever it wants, and then pass it further. Maybe add uh, a new color to the die, then go to the next part, and you can even get response back from the next. But it's interesting once you play with it. I think it is message passing is can be much like very interesting. But of course, when you're working within a distributed system, then it becomes much more interesting when you're doing like consensus algorithms with rafts and paxos and all this stuff. Then it gets more complex and interesting. But congratulations, that's really cool. It's cool. Steady making the progress. Steady, 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 steady. But one thing actually we can think of is if we're having like a single rename auto detection, it means we're gonna be iterating twice. Yeah, it is. It is complex. I would say it's simple, but yeah, it's simple but complex, if that is the right word. So, um, it's it's simple to grok, but it can be complex to implement and complex to follow if not properly done. Um, so let's think. Where was I? So like if you're having a single field rename, then basically we're gonna be the union is gonna be two. So we're gonna be iterating over the old and new field. So when we're iterating over the old field, is gonna fall under this part, and we're gonna see that it's a rename. It's a single field rename if the user chooses that. Same thing when you go over the new one, right? But if it's on the left, um, then it's gonna skip that. If it's on the right, it's gonna do a rename. But if the user chooses deletes, then it's gonna be none, in which case it should undo the delete and have. Okay, yeah. The main takeaways I got was how threads work, how channels work, and how arc and mutex fit in between them. Yeah, yeah, that's a cool, brilliant stuff. That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Learning about like all the synchronization. It's really cool. And these are the things that you don't really learn when you're using like JavaScript or even Python. Um, read write lock and all this stuff. And some crates that you might want to check out: parking lot, flume, and of course, what's this concurrency trait crate? I think it starts with C. I might actually have it in my project. It's very popular. Crossbeam. Yeah. Crossbeam, flume, and parking lot. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So we prompt user. You and I. We have the prompter. So maybe I could as well just pass in the prompter here. Prompter. Static. Can we make it static? No. Yep. So here we say prompter, and here we pass in the prompter. Cool. But we also need div left, div right. So where we getting the field name? Okay, so we can do it. Yep. I wouldn't say prevention, but detection. Yeah. For deadlock detection, for sure. Python's async experience. Yeah. I think they're trying to improve the Python async experience, but it's still not the best. Yeah, so I wouldn't say prevention, but for detection, I think it has deadlock prevention and detection algorithm. So basically, ROS prevents like race condition from two threads trying to access the same memory, but it doesn't prevent deadlock because it's possible for a thread to forget to release the lock, and your your code is just gonna like freeze. So what parking lot helps you to do is detect that deadlock state. So preventing it would then be left up to you. I believe so. Because obviously, um, deadlock happens for a reason, and you, I think it's useful to have the um, freedom to decide on what you want to do when there is a deadlock, how you want to undo a situation of a deadlock, like how you want to react to it. So I'm not sure if deadlock would be entirely preventable because it's just something that is inherent in a multi-threaded distributed system. And you just have to know how to handle it when it happens. Because that's the thing, right? When you're dealing with a multi-threaded distributed system, like you just always have to think that things can go wrong, especially when you need to start doing like consensus, and it's just the reality of life. Um, it's it's the same way you would handle a deadlock in a normal human situation, right? You can't really prevent deadlock. You can do your best effort to minimize deadlock from happening, right? But you really can't entirely prevent deadlock. What you can do is react to deadlock. So when there's a deadlock, you have a meeting or some kind of stuff in human circle. You then do, oh, when there's a deadlock, this is what we want to actually do. This is how we want to react to it. I think that's the same way it works. Yeah, I mean, hard. What is hard? I don't know the full details. I haven't really dug deeper into how the deadlock detection algorithm works. Um, but I wouldn't say it's hard to detect, but I would say it's hard to prevent, or if not impossible to prevent. If you get what I mean, you can minimize the risk of deadlock, um, but prevent it entirely, I don't think it would be practical or possible because deadlock is just inherent nature of the system. It's like, yeah, it's it's uh, it's a byproduct of having that kind of system. It's expected to happen even if it's very rare. Yeah, that is that is 8888. So we can actually either did you see me in the magazine? Tell me, what did you think of me? I'm a celebrity. Don't you know, don't you know? Yeah, I break up the rules, but I figured as were stars I supposed to do. These cars are super cool. Don't you know, don't you know? If I had to do it all again, I wouldn't change anything. Ladies love me and no fans adore me. My super story is one with lots of money, money, money. When I become rich and famous, all these faces we know who I am, 'cause I'll be a superstar, flashing light. Yeah, exactly. Everything is working the way it should. It's just consequence of it. And cover pages all these faces. We know who I am, 'cause I'll be a superstar. So basically we're checking if we auto detect and what the user returns. If you return Let's me know, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yep. So for this is okay, otherwise I think we could just return none. We could return none. No. Yep. So this is found by new name. Why don't we then do for old name also? Let's see what that looks like. Old name to detection rename. Yeah. Let's check the prompts. We need to simplify this code a little bit. So the prompt prompts. Yep. Let's bring that down a little bit. So that should be yeah. We passing the delete options and rename option. I think we could have simplified this better. Delete, and this would be no, go table. We've got new name, and new name will be field name, and we've got old name. No, actually, so old name would be, I believe we should be getting that from where's auto detection? Oh, it's up here. Let's remove that. Actually, maybe we can change that to auto detection, right? So basically what we need to do is from this it's making sense now. I pretty much just need to take that, sorry, and yeah, see what I'm doing. So this would be, we can basically just inline that actually. Left is migration data, so this, and right is this should be, yep, and we can then do some field change meta. So let's do auto detection. So that gives us this field change meta. We get the new is the right. Let's put this down. Then old. So this is old should now be in migration. The old live DB state. New should be code base state. Yep. So that gives us auto detection meta, and we can now use that to our advantage. So yeah, we can pass in auto detection, auto detection. Oh, auto detection. What am I doing? Auto. Oh, auto. That's even worse. Auto detection meta. So we can then do auto detection meta and rename. Yep. Whatever the user prompts, we're passing a trait instead, so that in our test we can mock that out. So that's why we're not passing the concrete type of prompt here, but a trait, but we can get back to that. So depending on what the user selects, but actually there is something. This should be an option, so we cannot pass it in directly. So first we need to check if you make me laugh. You make me laugh. So basically, you know what I'm thinking now? Why don't we just move this even into this part? Yeah, right. We can move in the prompts. Let's call this prompts. And we can undo the error later. So rather than passing this, we can just pass in the prompt, which will then give us this, the final thing that we need. So we're passing in the prompt there. We can remove that. We can remove this. Maybe remove that also. Remove this. So this can then be simplified to, because everything has been encapsulated into that, and we can abstract that away. But let's make this work first. So we can say auto. All we need now is auto detection meta, and we just need to check if first we can remove this. So if that is not found, we probably just want to return none. So let's do some. So this should be auto detection meta. So let's say if we're getting the rename, then this gives us the metadata from the renaming. And what can we do with that? Let's check. So basically we have the old new name there, at least on the table name. And we're trying to map it over to basically whatever this gives us. We're trying to map it to that. So let's call this found field by new name. Okay, we already have that. Otherwise, we just basically return none. So field meta. Okay, that's cool. So how about we do the same for, we're gonna try to improve these. Okay, we already actually have it. Yeah. No, let's remove this and let's by old name. Basically in this situation, we pretty much just want to return the same thing actually, because yeah. So I'm gonna try to explain what I mean. So we could just pass in found field by new name, because what we need essentially here, why am I getting unknown there? Field meta. Field. Where are we using that? Here. Field metadata. Caps. Don't we have that imported? Okay. Yep. So basically, we're trying to simulate or a situation whereby a user explicitly puts in the old name attribute, right? And in this case, we're auto detecting that. So if we can auto detect for cake, right, we are able to extract this metadata, which means like the same thing holds for bread, right? Since it's basically this diff left equals 1, diff right equals 1. In that kind of scenario, we for by finding by new name, in this case, new name will still be cake, old name will still be bread, right? And the definition will just be definition of the new field which we're getting from the right. And same holds for finding by left name, by old name. It's still gonna be the same. New name will still remain cake, old name will remain bread, and the definition would be this. So we can essentially do this because we just try to simulate that. I'll try to simplify this logic. I'll see how we can do that. So essentially what I'm trying to drive at is, let's remove that. So this returns an option, right? Basically we can then do or found field or found field by new name. Field metadata. Or we can do unwrap or that's right. So no, I'm expecting this to return an option. What's happening? Okay, I found it. So this should be an option. Let's just wrap it. It should be an option. Great. So let's see. I think or should be the right thing, not unwrap or. Unwrap or this should be the right thing. Yep. And this should basically be, let's try to rename this so we don't create confusion. Found it by name auto. Yep. Then we don't even need this, but I guess we can do that auto. And yeah, we can just say or yep, basically that. And if we wanted, we could depends, we could just do this and remove that. Ooh. So let's come. This is just for handling error, invalid field name. Well, maybe we could. Let's leave that out first. Then we'll go through all these steps and let's go through the logic bit by bit. I'll try to abstract some of this part to different functions to simplify, but the important thing is I really want this to stay simple, this part. Now, I want this to just focus on the code, the migration changes, and nothing more. Let's remove that. So basically, we get all the left definitions, the right definitions for the specific field, and this is the way we detect if it might be single field delete, single field delete or renaming. Yep. Later, dude, I'm off to bed. Have a great night. You too. Appreciate you for joining in. Hope you have a wonderful night. I'll try to wrap this off. I'll wrap this up also as quickly as possible. But at least take a break. I need to grab something to eat, shower, and yeah. I'll try to go through the logic ones and maybe call it a night also. I might do some stuff off stream, but I need to grab something to eat and shower from now. So let's go through the logic. We get the left definitions for this field. Then we get the right definitions. From there we see if it might be a single detection. If it is, we get the left. The old name and the new name. And after that, we see what the user prompts. We prompt the user. And depending on if the user wants to delete or rename, then return the prompt, and we just map in over there. That's unreachable. If we have both either change or no change, then auto detected. If it's renaming, we get all the field metadata for that renaming, get the right definition, we get the new field name and the old field name. Then for this we just say finding that right, or so let's say user is rating of a cake, and does it have field name or not? If it doesn't, is it a single field name detection? If it is, then that's then for the left, can we find it by that field name only? Otherwise, can we, is it also automatic? So before cake, because in the case of cake and bread, we actually want it to be renamed. So whatever result we get for the old and new name, if it's both sides and you're trying to rename the same field, if it's on the right side, we use the right method. So either by using the old name attribute or the auto detection, and we undo every renaming here, because we can retrieve all the information we need there. Then the case it's on the left, so in the case when we are going over bread, we can just say no change, like just skip over. Then if we are not auto detecting anything, means no single change on the left and right, and user is not selecting at the same time. Then no field name attribute. Then we come down here, but so if the user is also not selecting rename attribute, then it's gonna be no this, no that. Then it can come down here finally. So in this case, in the case of cake, if the user selects delete node name attributes, and also since selecting delete, that would be none. So on left and right, since there will be no old name attributes and there wouldn't be rename attribute, it will be delete. So this two will be none, and we will be able to get down here eventually. So for cake is gonna be just go to left def but not on the right def. So that would do removal of that. Then for right, the case of cake, it'd be on the right but not on the left, so that would be creation. And otherwise we just say we're skipping, or we can panic. I shouldn't be able to have nothing. So I think this logic should work. We'll improve the error. I'll probably change this to try from, but let's just test this first. So basically let's discard this, and yep. What can we undo? Auto rename or delete prompt detection. Yep. I'm thinking if I should continue here or just take a break to go do what I need to do and continue afterwards. But I'm pretty happy with where we're getting at. I'm happy that now we have like a separation of concern. This is focused on just change detection, and this is just focused on handling the migration, and we just basically passing the data. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll take some break and I'll see if I can still come on stream again later, or do that off stream and come on tomorrow. But yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate you for joining, for supporting, and see you again maybe soon or tomorrow. Happy New Year. I just wanted to stream my first stream for the year. I'm planning out some other videos and stuff, but I wanted to clear this. I would like to really finish this ASAP. I'm probably gonna be burning the night oil because I'll be glad if I can fix this bug, and maybe it would even make it a lot easier to detect, or maybe even already fix the second bug. But if I could fix both bugs, and then I can finish the test tomorrow, and I would really like to finish the test. So with this, I think we're in a good shape. The chain detection looks good to me, and should we just bite the bullet and change this to try from already? We could, rather than just panicking. So this is could not find this. Does this take so much time? Let's sync this up. Okay, bunch of errors. Oof. Bunch of errors. Oh, really? What? Hmm. So we have that already. Very much. Yes. Okay, I'll continue from there. I love you guys. Keep brain code. Happy New Year.